Welcome to Murder with the Missus. I'm Darren.
And I'm Amy. And today we're going to tell you about the Jamison family.
Don't forget to check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Podbean, and Facebook. Like, share, subscribe. Make sure to hit the notification bell so you get the new episodes whenever they drop. And tell your friends as always.
How can we do these Oklahoma cases without covering the Jamison family? This case comes up a lot when I research Oklahoma cases because it's one of our most unsolved and strangest that we have in the area. What really happened has never been figured out. And sadly, this may be one that never is. We're talking about 44-year-old Bobby Jamison, his wife, 40-year-old Sherilyn, and their daughter, 6-year-old Madison. Bobby and Sherilyn met in 2002. She was divorced and had a son, Colton. In 2003, Bobby was in a car accident where he suffered a back injury that left him with chronic pain. He was said to be in so much pain a lot of the time that pain pills didn't even help, and that meant that he was unable to work, so he was on disability. Sherilyn was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and wasn't the best at taking her meds. We hear that a lot, where people take their meds, feel better, and think they're doing okay, so they stop taking them, not acknowledging the fact that the meds are actually working for them. She would have bouts of depression, along with manic episodes. She was also on disability due to this, so disability was their only legitimate source of income. So money was tight.
In 2004, Bobby and Sherilyn got married, and soon after, Madison was born.
Yeah. In 2007, Sherilyn's little sister and best friend, Macy, suddenly died after being stung on the tongue by a bee. This sent Sherilyn into depression. It was very hard on her, understandably, what are the odds? It's crazy. And it happened so quick that they said an EpiPen wouldn't even have been able to save her. And it was all about the location of that sting. So that's scary.
That kind of sucks to know.
Yeah, since you have an EpiPen for stings.
And that if I get stung, I could possibly die.
Yeah, they just said it was a sting on the tongue, but
they told me, they said if it's up by the head or neck or anything like that,
it's done.
It's like very.
But when I was reading this and they said that's how she got stung or where she got stung, I instantly thought of like a pop can or something sitting down and you just pick it up.
Yeah, I screwed up that one day when we were building that porch and grabbed my energy drink, took a drink. I felt that bee touch my lip.
Yep.
And I automatically just went, puh.
I'm glad you did. Spit it out.
And Bubba, he's like, what? And I said, there's a fucking bee in my monster.
Yeah, he was like, Dad almost died today. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
Wow, it's scary, and it happens so fast. What can you do?
Well, and you said it was just a bee, right?
Yeah, it was just a bee.
Because bees are like honeybees and everything. They're not really violent unless they're being messed with.
Yeah, they're reactive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're not like wasps. Wasps are assholes.
Yeah, they come at you.
Yeah, they're looking for a fight.
Death darts. Yeah.
But bees, most bees, like wood bees and stuff like that, they're kind of the same way.
Yep.
But honeybees, they're pretty docile.
They're docile, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't mess with them. They won't mess with you. Leave the bees alone. So let's move ahead to October 16th of 2009. A truck was found by hunters. It had been abandoned in the middle of a dirt road in Red Oak, Oklahoma, which is in the Sandboys Mountains. Do you know that area?
I do know that area.
He just threw his finger up in the air.
Yeah, I did. I was actually going to ask you what part of Oklahoma when you said Red Oak. I was like, oh,
yeah,
okay, I know that area.
Well, there you go. We're there. And this was Bobby's truck that they found. It was an hour away from their house in Eufaula. Inside the truck was Madison's dog, Maisie. She was starving and dehydrated, so they could tell that she had been there for some time, but she was alive. They immediately got her help, and I can say that she was treated and made a complete recovery and was taken to Bobby's family. The truck was locked when it was found. Inside was Bobby's wallet, a portable GPS unit, maps, Sherilyn's purse, their 2 cell phones, the family's coats, and $32,000 in cash in a bank bag under the driver's seat. They also came across an 11-page hate letter from Sherilyn to Bobby, saying he wasn't taking good care of his family. He was a loner and a hermit, and she wanted a divorce. One part said, I would not wish my daughter be raised in foster care because of you being in prison for attempted murder and her mother dead.
finding the truck in the middle of nowhere was odd. There was no sign of a struggle inside or outside of it. So where'd the GPS maps and units and all that stuff, what'd that do?
What do you mean? What'd it do?
Did it like lead them to them?
Nope. But it gave them an idea of what happened that day, the day they went missing. We'll get into it.
Okay.
So they had the GPS with them. So back then, there wasn't like really GPS on your phones. So you had the portable, like you used to have the Garmin.
Well, yeah, and they still have them.
Yeah. And so that's what they had. So that's what they found. They found that and some maps and then all the other stuff. All their personal stuff was still there. So they found this truck, they found this dog, and so they started a search. It started as 5 or so deputies, but quickly turned into 400 volunteers per the reports. The sheriff at the time told True Crime Daily the total was more like around 1,000 during the first couple of weeks. Keep in mind, they are on a mountain, so searches are taking place on horseback and mules, ATVs, helicopters, and a drone was even brought in this is back in the day.
Yeah.
The terrain on the mountain was thick with trees, rough, and had steep cliff sides, so it was dangerous. And some volunteers even had to be rescued themselves. The temperatures were pretty chilly, around 40 degrees that day, so it was chilly during the day. Now at night, it obviously drops, and especially in the mountains, it's going to drop quick. The fact that all 3 family members were missing, possibly out in the elements without their coats, only added to the necessity to find them. One witness said that there were tire tracks leading away from the truck, and that was not reported by anyone else, and I didn't see that it was investigated. Police pulled cell phone data, the portable GPS data. They talked to family and friends trying to trace the family's steps. The Jamisons had gone up to the mountain in Red Oak to look at a 40-acre property to possibly buy. They had a portable shipping container in their yard already, so the plan was to move it up there and possibly live in it. On October 8th of 2009, they went to that land and met with a landowner's associate. This was a private sale, and the Jamisons specifically requested that the realtor not come to the meeting.
That could be why he had that much cash on him that day, to maybe buy the land if they liked it.
That's what some people think, that's why he had that money. Because why else would you be just driving around with $32,000 in cash?
Yeah.
Also, they were both on disability at the time. That was their only source of income. So another question was, where'd they get that much cash?
Well, it might have been like the process of waiting on the disability.
Yeah, like the back pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that comes up too. And like I said, it's one of many theories. The GPS data shows that they met with the associate and then parked and walked for about 15 minutes using that GPS unit to be able to find their way back to the truck. That part is speculation, since even an avid outdoorsman can get turned around in the unknown woods. So they're assuming that's why they took the GPS with them. They took a picture of Madison, and oh boy, this picture is heavily speculated. It was taken with Bobby's cell phone, and it's been spoken about a lot over the years. She's standing in front of a rock and has her arms crossed. Some say she looks like a typical child acting stubborn when they don't want their picture taken, but others think she's scared. The grandparents don't believe that Bobby or Sherilyn took the picture because of the look on her face. And we'll post a picture on our Facebook page because I haven't heard anyone really mention the fact that there is a red mark on her left jaw and there's red on the neck of her shirt that looks like blood. Maybe she fell and got hurt on the walk, or maybe someone hit her. I'm either missing it in all the speculations flying around, or I'm so far out in left field that I could catch foul balls, but I haven't seen this talked about. So I digress. They went back to the truck and drove a little further, parked, locked the truck, and vanished. Another weird thing about the cell phone records is that the voicemail was checked on the 12th. Now that's 4 days after they were last seen and 4 days before the truck was found. The call to check the voicemail came from at or around Bristow, Oklahoma. Now Bristow and Red Oak are over 2 hours away from each other. I don't see if they tracked down where that call came from or maybe who called that number. And maybe they looked into it and ruled it out as something that didn't need to be investigated. I don't know. But let's talk about some theories for this case. One is that they faked their own death or went into witness protection. We wouldn't have known at this time if that was true.
That's kind of the point of witness protection program, though.
Yeah, to go away where nobody knows. Yeah. So that's kind of rule number one. Don't tell nobody.
Yeah.
The Latimer County Sheriff at the time said that the investigation led them to believe that the couple may have been scammers. The couple sued 3 people in Oklahoma County over that 2003 car accident that Bobby was in. They had pulled Madison out of kindergarten saying that they were going to homeschool her because there had been an incident on the playground where Madison got hit in the face with a swing. And that's why in that picture, you'll see that her 2 front teeth are missing. It's because they got knocked out. So they pulled her out of school and were allegedly planning to sue the school district. They lived beyond their means. Their Eufaula home was a lakeside home, and they had multiple timeshares in the United States and Mexico. And that seemed off since they lived on a fixed income. In July of 2009, Sherilyn's ex-husband took custody of their son Colton, so the child support stopped, making money even tighter. At the custody hearing, 12-year-old Colton said that he wanted to live with his dad because Sherilyn was very depressed and was acting strangely. So kudos to him for speaking up because I know that's hard to decide between your parents. And also Colton talked to his mom 2 weeks before her disappearance and she didn't mention possibly moving.
Another theory is Bobby's dad had something to do with the disappearance.
Right. So 67-year-old Bob Dean Jamison. Bobby had a protective order against Bob since May 1st of 2009. In the petition, Bobby said his dad hit him with his vehicle, saying Bob was a very dangerous man who thought he was above the law. Bob allegedly had ties to the Mexican mafia. And Bobby said, quote, "My entire family is severely scared for their lives. I am in fear at all times." Bobby was actively suing his parents, Bob and Starlet, who everybody calls Star, because they apparently owned a convenience store that Bobby worked at for free for years, with the promise that he would have a half interest in the store. But Bob and Star allegedly sold the store and did not give Bobby any of the money for his half interest. Bob and Starlet divorced, and Bob passed away in December, 2 months after the truck was found. Bob's brother Jack says he doesn't believe that Bob had anything to do with the disappearances, saying he was either in a hospital or in a rest home. I just don't think he was involved. He was disturbed at the time, but I'm pretty sure he was not capable of being involved in that. But according to Bobby, just a few months before, he was saying that Bob was involved in prostitution, the mafia, and meth, so it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility that he could have had someone else do it for him. Uncle Jack was the executor of Bob's will, and he said Bobby and Star were cut out, making Madison the sole beneficiary. So that begs the question, could he really have ordered a hit on Madison? Or could she have just been collateral damage? Both are possible.
Another theory is that the disappearance were because of a drug deal gone bad, which would also be a reason he could have all that cash on him.
It's very true. So if he was out there to do a drug deal, but who drug deals in the mountains? But I guess they do. I don't know. I mean, have you met a lot of drug dealers who don't like money? Why would they leave $32,000 cash in the truck if he got killed over a drug deal? You know what I mean?
Yeah, or maybe they was the buyers.
Even at that, you're still going to take that money.
They got killed because they didn't have the money on them.
Oh, they had it. Maybe they just wouldn't give it up.
Yeah.
Now, Bobby and Sherilyn did lose a noticeable amount of weight prior to their disappearance, so drugs were at the top of the theory list. Many believe that they could have been involved with selling meth, and that would be the reason that they would have that kind of cash available to them. I will note that there were no drugs or paraphernalia found on their property or in their truck. A lot of online chatter is that when you're on drugs and keeping it from the people around you or your children, it is possible to hide it very well. But based purely on what I've seen on TV and movies only, you also have to keep it accessible. Yes, you can hide it from other people by not leaving it laying around or put it in a cookie jar, but a lot of times you have a stash or hidey hole that you can get to without too much difficulty. At the same time, meth users can get pretty crafty. The surveillance cameras at the couple's house showed the couple acting strangely on October 8th. Now, this is the last time the family is seen at home. It showed the couple loading the truck for the trip. They were in a trance-like state, silent, passing each other without acknowledging the other person. They made around 20 or so trips to the house, sometimes empty-handed, sometimes taking things to the truck and then taking them back out of the truck and back into the house. And they would stop and stare off into space randomly. Many believe that this is indicative of drug use. And I wonder why they're packing that much stuff for a 1-hour drive.
What stuck out to the police the most was that Sherilyn put a brown briefcase in the truck, but when the truck was found, there was no briefcase.
Right. So you can see her on the footage at the house put a brown briefcase in the truck, so they know it's there. So where's the briefcase?
True.
Right?
Yeah.
And some people like to say that maybe that is what the other drug dealers or whoever did harm to them that day, maybe that's where they thought the money was. So they took that and didn't think to look under the seat. Also missing was Sherilyn's .22 pistol that she was known to keep in the truck. The sheriff believed that the briefcase had money, drugs, or both inside. Like I said, based on the way the truck was parked, he says it looks like they were forced to stop and get out of the truck or got out because it was someone that they knew. The last person to come forward as seeing them that day was the man who lived about a quarter mile from where the truck was found. He said he saw the family go up the mountain, but not come down. He also said he didn't see anyone else drive up it or down it that day either. I didn't see anything more on this man or the landowner's associate, or if they're the same thing, being investigated, but I hope they did and ruled him out. Another big theory is along the lines of religion and cults. They were religious and were members of a local church. Their former pastor says that they talked to him about spirits haunting the house. Some lived on the roof. Sherilyn held seances, and Bobby bought a satanic Bible to research and see how to do an exorcism. Sherilyn had a witch's Bible on the coffee table. Bobby even asked the pastor if there was a bullet they made that would kill spirits. Many believe that this started because Madison had started talking to an imaginary friend named Emily and her brother Michael. A friend of Sherilyn's said the house was haunted and that when she would leave the house, she would feel down or depressed. Sherilyn's mom is the one who brought up the cult angle. She said that Sherilyn was on a hit list maintained by a religious cult operating out of southeast Oklahoma, but she didn't know the name of it. And Sherilyn had some pet cats that were allegedly poisoned by a neighbor. So Sherilyn spray painted on the storage container in the yard, 3 cats killed to date by people in this area. Witches don't like their black cats killed. So now, the only thing left to talk about, I think, is white supremacy.
Damn, that came out of nowhere.
Well, we've already talked about so many wonderful things.
Now we're bringing in
Let's bring in the racist.
Yeah, bring in the Aryans here. Okay.
Now, you would think it was out of nowhere, but it does relate. So there was a man that stayed with the family before their disappearance. Some reports say that he was a family friend, and some say he moved in as someone who was getting paid to work around the house, since Bobby was disabled. Either way, he was there. One night, he and Sherilyn got into an argument because he was a white supremacist and found out that she was Native American. He got in her face, so she took Madison into another room and came back with Bobby's gun. She told him to leave the house, but when he didn't move fast enough, Pistol Annie fired 2 rounds into the floor at his feet. I don't blame her. This introduced a theory that his clan made the family disappear. The man himself was in jail when the family disappeared, so he was cleared by the FBI of having hands-on involvement, but many still believe that his backwoods buddies could have had a hand in it. I will be able to address the biggest question in this case, unfortunately. 4 years later, on November 16th of 2013, deer hunters came across what looked like 3 human skulls. Searching the area, police found the rest of the remains of the 3 family members. They found bits of clothes, other bones, and fragments along with her shoes. Madison's little shoes appeared to have a dried flower in them that many speculate was something that was put on her after she died. The bodies had been laying side by side and face down, so that is extremely odd. And they had been out there for so long that they actually couldn't positively identify them until July of 2014. No cause of death could be determined just based on the remains. Bobby did have a small hole in the back of his skull, but they couldn't definitively say if it was from a bullet or animals.
They were found 2.7 miles away from the truck.
Yeah, so almost 3 miles.
So they had thousands of volunteers.
Yes.
Running up and down this mountain.
Trying to. It was hard. 2
deer hunters found them 2.7 miles away from the truck.
Yeah, like 6 years later.
Thousands of volunteers.
Well,
you telling me
up to 1,000.
Okay, whatever. If it's 999, volunteers.
Right.
You telling me they could cover 5 square miles?
Well, they could have. But remember I said that they were even having to haul the volunteers off the side of the mountain because they were getting stuck and getting hurt. So, and then deer season came, so they had to call the search off. And then there was always something.
I guarantee you they made it more than 3 miles in there.
I mean, you would think so.
Oh.
But you never know. It depends on the area, I think.
2.7 miles away from the truck.
Yeah. Yeah. So now newer theories have emerged. So, because now they have bodies. So they know they're not in witness protection.
Yeah.
But they have a theory that they went for another walk and got lost, eventually succumbing to the elements. But why not take your coat, even just Madison's? And why not take the portable GPS like they did the first time? Also, why not take Maisie? She's a dog. Why leave the truck in the middle of the road? I have too many questions on that one. I wouldn't necessarily say it was a drug deal gone bad either. Some reports say that he had just got $64,000 in the car accident settlement. So like we said earlier, maybe he brought it to pay for the land if he liked it. But some speculate that Bobby didn't just take it with him that day, that it was in the truck longer to keep it safe somewhere because him and Sherilyn was having problems. And he was worried that Sherilyn was going to leave him. So he took his half of the money and hid it. And they didn't trust banks, so they always had their money in cash, both of them. One theory is that Sherilyn committed murder-suicide, but the families don't believe that she could hurt Madison. And also, how? Her .22 was never recovered, so if she had used it, it would have been with the bodies. So some say maybe she used a rock, which is very gruesome. But one thing that came to mind, since there's so many questions surrounding the truck position, the lack of a struggle, etc., was that they didn't go willingly to that second location. I mean, think about it. If you were forced by gunpoint to get into your truck, drive further into the mountain that you're not familiar with, and get out without taking anything with you, it could be possible. If somebody's in there holding a gun to you, telling you do this, do that, you're going to do this, do that. And many don't believe that Bobby would have made it on that terrain with his back for almost 3 miles. But would he if his family was in danger? You kind of work through the pain. And let's work off the idea that they went missing on the 8th, because they did. And what happens in October, in Oklahoma at least, what happens October 1st?
Opening day of archery season.
Nobody has mentioned that an arrow could have been involved. They're all just hung up on her .22 pistol. They were saying that they likely weren't shot because there was no evidence of a shooting. Gun, shell casings, bullets. But those, because those are things that would be left behind after decomposition, right? They're not going to break down like a body does. But what evidence does an arrow leave behind? It's just a hole. And if they were in the woods, in an area known to have hunters, because they had to call the search off because of hunters, the remains and the truck were found by hunters. They obviously hunt here, and the Jamisons would have been out there with no safety orange on. Would it be so far-fetched that one of them was possibly hit by an arrow? Maybe the hunter had to get rid of witnesses, and that would explain why bodies were staged. And even why they believe the flower was left on Madison. Could have been out of guilt. Stranger things have happened.
Yeah, but
I know it's far-fetched.
It's kind of far-fetched because, even a hunter, if you accidentally shoot somebody, you got better chances of getting out of that.
Unless you're in trouble for something else. Not all upstanding citizens, run around on these streets.
Yeah, but even if you're a felon, you can still bow hunt.
Yes, you can. And I believe it was the year after this that they legalized crossbow hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even then you couldn't even use the crossbow. It had to be a compound bow or recurve.
Yeah.
I was just throwing it out there because, like I said, if you get hit with an arrow.
Well, that'd be something though. If you did shoot somebody on accident, you think the only way out is to get rid of the rest.
Exactly.
That'd be crazy.
I've seen stranger. And I haven't seen much about the shared psychosis theory either. We've seen cases of it with Ursula and Sabina Erickson, the twins who kept running into traffic, and all but one member of the Tromp family. And we may cover both of those cases one of these days. But there are documented cases of one person.
And she said Tromp.
Trump.
Not Trump.
Not Trump. Tromp.
With the O.
True crimers, no.
I'm just saying. Don't get it twisted.
No, do not.
I'm sorry.
No, you're okay. We were talking about shared psychosis. Okay, so one person can experience a break from reality, and then those close to them actually follow suit. Now, this checks some of the boxes for me: the paranoia, the strange behavior, the lack of personal safety. So I don't think that could be ruled out either.
Yeah, the locals have talked about the mountains having a lot of drug activity also.
Sure. Yeah. So there's supposedly at the time was a bunch of meth labs up there.
Which, I mean, you know, it's Red Oak, so. Sorry.
You did not.
My bad.
I've never been to Red Oak. Now I'm scared to go.
My bad.
You're bad twice? Okay. I feel like you strongly believe that. So then it sounds like that's not too far-fetched either, that there's meth labs up in the hills. Like kind of like bootleg and distill.
Okay, I'll quit.
You need to quit. Just kidding. So yeah, I mean, you're messing me up here.
Go ahead.
But so it's not far-fetched that there's meth labs up there, kind of like they used to do distilleries during the bootlegging.
Oh.
No, get off the button.
Okay.
I'm deleting that button.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not. It's fun. Anyways, a family friend, Nikki, said that she went to the place where the remains were found about a year later, and that there was a line of cars out there, all with Texas plates on them. She walked into the woods, but when she heard 2 gunshots, she hightailed it out of there. She did not say that she called the cops at that time, so I don't know if that was ever verified. But that's where we are in the case. That's literally, it has gone nowhere. Nowhere.
It sounds like they don't really have much to go off of. I mean, they
don't, but do you think that they literally just laid side by side in a line and face down and just died?
You know, the mom, she suffered from bipolar. Mm-hmm. She wasn't on her meds.
She was not, no.
And if it's like a severe case of bipolar, I mean, I'm no doctor, but that could drive a person to doing something that I'm not blaming on the mom because, I mean, it doesn't sound like the dad was a peach either,
They all had their issues.
And, he might have his own addictions, with the car wreck and everything. And
he did, yeah, he did.
So, I mean, it's just, and they, one of them had satanic Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Another one had a witchcraft Bible.
Yes.
And I mean, that right there, I mean, that just kind of throw flags.
But then how did
all
they die?
All over the place. And I'm not knocking anybody that believes in that kind of stuff or anything like that. It's just, there's ways of believing it.
Practicing. Believing. Mm-hmm.
And then there's other people that are just like more conspiracy type on it.
I gotcha.
And then take it too far because then they start believing.
Right.
Their own words.
Their own way.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the way it was written, but the way they want to believe it.
Yeah. And knowing that maybe it's the meds that are driving them to it.
You never know.
Or
but
maybe
I just
it's not taking their meds is driving them to it.
Also valid.
So.
But I need to know how they died.
Well, and I mean, they're up on top of a mountain.
They are.
So their body was found on top. I mean, good rain could have washed the gun down further away from them.
They have never found the gun.
I know. But they didn't really do, in my opinion, they didn't really do very good search because they was only 2.7 miles away.
I'm not going to lie. The sheriff at this time.
And okay. So when they found the skulls, what kind of search did they do after that?
They just searched for their surroundings. They just searched the area to get all their remains and stuff.
1 mile, 2 miles.
They didn't say. Yeah, they didn't specify.
Because a coyote could have carried a bone.
Right. They didn't get all the remains.
Up to 100 miles away from there. You know what I'm saying? It's
right. But they're not going to carry a gun.
No. But the whole thing is if they're thinking gun, bring out the metal detector. Do a quick sweep. Do like a 200-foot radius sweep of this place.
And they might have.
Because it might have washed down just a little bit.
Could have.
But I don't know. It's just one of the things. We say it a lot. There's a lot more that could have been done. A lot more questions that could have been asked.
Well, like I was saying, I would like to say that the sheriff that was sheriff at the time when this happened, he seemed like he was really involved.
And that's good. I'm
even
happy.
To this day, he's still involved.
And that's great and all and everything. But I just don't believe that they didn't see anything with almost 1,000 people out there searching.
What's to say that somebody saw something and they just didn't report it?
I mean, you got people walking there and back, and you're telling me they never once come across them?
Drones,
They had drones above?
aerial searches, but it's heavily wooded. You can't see through that thickness.
Yeah. But drones nowadays, hey, you can fly them through the woods.
Well, this was 2000 and
2002.
2009.
Oh, 9. Okay.
Yeah. So things
But
weren't
yeah.
as good.
I'm just saying, I mean, I just think there could have been a little more.
We need Darren on the case, y'all.
It's just there a little more to it.
Well, I'll leave you with this. So the probate for Bobby shows that in 2022, everything from the family went to Colton.
Well, at least it all went to the stepson.
Yeah. So that's good.
Yeah.
He's in charge of the entire estate now. And I said 2022. That was just 2 years ago.
That took forever.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that $32,000 was sitting in an evidence box.
Mm-hmm. Well, you got to think they had a house. They had other money. They had that storage thing. They had multiple timeshares. They had a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It's just been sitting there.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So if you have any information, I know it's been a long time, but if you know something even now, bring it out. Make Darren happy. So if you know what happened to the Jamison family, please call the sheriff's office at 918-465-4012.
All right, well, that's it for this one. Catch us on the next one. Guys, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Tell your friends.
That was aggressive.
That was.